Hello and welcome to the ZubiaLive channel. I'm Shane Schultz and I'll be your host for today's program. Zubia is your health and wellness live streaming community specializing in interactive video, bringing you current information to health and wellness topics that affect you. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at ZubiaLive and our website at ZubiaLive.com. Today on ZubiaLive channel is part 2 of our 4-part series with our featured guest, Susan Rahn. Today's discussion is diagnosis, breast cancer. Now what? Susan Rahn is a respected advocate in the breast cancer community and was diagnosed in 2013 with metastatic breast cancer at 43. Whether professing on the Hill in DC or raising eyebrows with the truth in Twitter, change is what Susan wants to see. You can find her on her award-winning blog, Stick It to Stage 4, as she chronicles her illness, and at The Underbelly, the digital breast cancer magazine she co-founded with friends Melissa McAllister and Melanie Childers. Please welcome Susan Rahn. Hi, Susan. How are you today?
Hi, Shane. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It is awesome to have you here. So, diagnosis, breast cancer. What was that day like?
That was an extremely difficult day, extremely difficult. It was a long day, in fact. The day started at 7 a.m. with a PET scan. We knew that going to the PET scan that I had cancer. I had cancer in my spine and my ribs. We just were not sure if the cancer was coming from somewhere else or if it was a bone cancer. So the PET scan was to find, if it was elsewhere throughout my body or if we were dealing with that. So it was a 2-hour scan.
Okay.
And then it was just, a waiting game. And finally I got a phone call at 5:30 in the afternoon from my GP, and she gave me the news that, in fact, the cancer was coming from a tumor in my right breast. So, I didn't really understand at that point, what that meant. My question to her was, what does that mean? Is it stage 3? Is it stage 4? And she said, well, it's stage 4. Unfortunately, I did what a lot of people do at that point, and I got right on the computer and started Googling and learned at that point what that in fact truly meant. And, unfortunately, metastatic breast cancer is not curable, and it is a terminal illness. So it was quite a devastating evening for me. And, I had about a 2-hour wait before my husband came home, and then I was the one that had to deliver that news. So.
Wow. Okay. So you've got breast cancer and you have no cure, and it affects more than just the person that's being diagnosed, doesn't it? It affects also the family. So then you started having to tell your family, that you had this. I imagine that wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't. Over the course of the next couple of days, it was, telling, my parents, and at the time my son was 14, about to start high school. So telling him was a little bit different. I told him in sections, really. Like the first conversation was, okay, mom has breast cancer, and I'm going to do what I need to do. And, you might see that I'll be, not feeling good at times. And then, as he kind of digested that information, then, later on, I finally did tell him the entire truth. But, as he needed to start high school first and kind of get into that whole thing before I actually hit him with everything. So, me telling him it was a little bit different. So, but yeah, it was a difficult process telling everybody.
I can imagine. I mean, I've worked with U.S. Oncology Hematology for a short period of time. I've worked with the American Cancer Society, so I do know what that discussion can be like. I've had friends and family who were affected by breast cancer. So yeah, I can understand. All right. So it had to be a pretty tough time for you. You obviously were lined up for treatments and so forth. So while doing that, what had you become empowered to not only become more informed for you, but also as an advocate for others? How did that all come about?
Well, the first 6 months was, for me, it was all about treatment. They hit me straight on with getting started with treatment and, dealing with, the cancer in the spine, because that was the most critical, at least for me. But then I felt like I needed to connect with other people that were like me. I needed to know someone else like me, and get all the information that I could. It wasn't until, March of 2014 that I felt like I needed to actually write about the experience. And that's when my blog kind of took shape. But that was more for my son, really, than anything else. I never really thought about it in other terms. Right. Until later on. For me, it was more, okay, well, I have this terminal illness. I need to leave something behind for him so that he can maybe read it at a later time and then maybe pass it on to his kids. So that was something more for him, but then it kind of morphed into something else. But that's when that all took shape. But immediately I wanted to connect with other people, and that's when I kind of turned more to social media, because my friends and family didn't really understand what I was going through. I clearly don't look like other cancer patients. That's the weird thing about metastatic breast cancer, is that most of us don't look as sick as we are. I don't have the traditional IV chemo, so I don't lose my hair right away. And so people don't think that I'm as sick as I am, and they don't identify. And then there's the whole terminal aspect where people recoil and they're like, oh my gosh, you're going to die, so we're not going to talk to you. And I scare people, really. So I wanted to connect with other people that had the same illness and find out everything that I could. And for whatever reason, I went to Twitter. I don't know why, but I did.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, really. And I only knew a little bit about Twitter from, when I was working. So I had to get familiar with it, and did some searches, and eventually found the BCSM, the hashtag BCSM community, which is breast cancer social media, and connected with those women. And they do a chat every Monday night, and just kind of watched it, didn't participate at first. And the first person that I really connected with on Twitter was Lisa Adams, and she was a fabulous advocate, and unfortunately she passed away a couple of years ago. But she was the first person I identified with. She had the same pathology, went to the same cancer center, Sloan Kettering, and eventually decided I was finally comfortable going back to Facebook, but kind of cleaned house with my Facebook. I don't have a lot of the same friends that I did when I was pre-cancer. Okay. And created a page with my Twitter handle, which is my blog handle, The Stick It to Stage 4. What really started my advocacy was when I learned how little research money goes to metastatic breast cancer. I was appalled. Less than 7% of research dollars from the big orgs go to metastatic research, which is the cancer that kills breast cancer patients. And when I learned that, I was mortified. And that's what started my mouth moving, really. And so that's kind of how it all started. Yeah, that's kind of how
I'm
it
talking
happened.
with Susan Rahn, who is an advocate. She's also represents her blog, which is Stick It to Stage 4, and the Underbelly magazine. You're an advocate in regards to breast cancer awareness. And you were just mentioning that, your realization of how many or how little dollars actually go to the research that's needed. And so you were talking about your advocacy and everything in that sense. So when somebody is now diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, and I have to say, a lot of people can identify with you, because those who are dealing with chronic pain and chronic illness, they don't have a cure either. And so being a health advocate for those types of things, I think they can certainly identify with what you're saying, and they can definitely identify with the little dollars that are going towards research as well. So you decided that you wanted to put together some resource materials that can help those who are dealing specifically with metastatic breast cancer. And so you want to talk about that today. What are some of those resources that will be helpful?
Yes. So there's an organization out there that I wish I had known about when I was diagnosed, and that's Living Beyond Breast Cancer. The website is lbbc.org. They're a fantastic organization that's been around for the past 25 years. And they provide fabulous resources for women and men diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer and even early stage breast cancer. They don't provide any kind of medical information, but they do provide resources in a bunch of different ways for folks. They have a phone support line that if you're looking to talk to someone that has the same diagnosis, they offer a phone support peer-to-peer line that you can call in and talk to someone. If you just find that you just have to talk to someone, you have questions about your diagnosis, they offer webinars. So if you want to, watch something online about your diagnosis, or you have questions about maybe Social Security disability, they have all types of different webinars. They even have a text line that you can connect. You can text them, and you can get text messages back from them periodically. They have a Facebook page. They are on Twitter. They also have national conferences that you can attend. They have a metastatic conference in April every year, and they help you get there with travel grants. And they offer discounted hotel rates, fabulous conference that you can attend, and meetings that you attend, connecting with other people similar to yourself. And I highly recommend that. And I just came back from a conference that they had in Memphis. So they will also send you hard materials like these. So if you want something that you can actually read and hold on to, they will happily send you information free of charge. You just have to request it. Okay. So definitely recommend going to their website. It's something that I wish that I had known about back when I was diagnosed. I definitely would have taken advantage of all of their information.
All right. Okay. We are talking with Susan Rahn. She is an advocate in the breast cancer community. She also has her blog, which is Stick It to Stage 4, and also the Underbelly magazine. So Susan, we have a 4-part series here. And the first, folks, if you hadn't seen this yet, is where Susan was actually on Capitol Hill at the Stage 4 Stampede event that was also a die-in. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the die-in just real quick, how that worked?
Yeah, so this was the 3rd year that I have gone to Washington on October 13th, which is Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day. And we march from the hotel that everybody stays at. Then we march to a location at the Capitol. And then we stage a die-in to show the visual representation of the 113 people that die every day due to metastatic breast cancer, to raise awareness that we do need to have more research dollars going to research metastatic disease. It's a very emotional kind of, die-in that we do. You got to be there, but it was very emotional that we do that every year. There are posters that are done to pay homage to the people that we've lost, the friends. Friends that were there last year are no longer there today because they've passed away due to the disease. Right. And then afterwards, we go and actually speak to some of the lawmakers that have a voice on the budget for the Department of Defense budget, and try to implore them to have some of that money, more money, go to metastatic research. And they really do make a difference. Telling personal stories to those lawmakers actually do make quite a big difference to them when it comes time for them to put their votes in. So if people can get there next year, I highly recommend it. It's very empowering to do things like that and make a difference in our country.
And you'll be able to actually see the video that we did, a live video with Susan on Capitol Hill. It's on our Facebook page, it's on our Twitter page, and it's also involved onto our YouTube page as well. So definitely want to check it out. It's a short video, but it really does impact. So what's planned for part 3?
So in part 3, I'd like to talk about a fabulous project that was started about 2 years ago. It's called the MBC Project, the Metastatic Breast Cancer Project. And it was started on social media by a research doctor, Dr. Wegley, at the Broad Institute at Dana-Farber. And it's specific to metastatic breast cancer patients. And it's going to provide a ton of new research information. And it is about sending in information. In metastatic breast cancer patients send in their own information, their tumor information. It's about finding out what we as metastatic breast cancer patients might have that can unlock new research information. So I'll get into more of that next time, but it's a fabulous project initiative and how we as patients can potentially unlock new research information.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Folks, this is Susan Rahn. Like I said, she's a tremendous advocate in the breast cancer community. She has her blog. I encourage you to go look at her blog, Stick It to Stage 4. Also, the Underbelly magazine, of which we will be sure to talk about throughout the series. But Susan, so very much thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. We were talking about information, current information, and hopefully, like you were talking about your blog being there for your son and for your grandchildren, hopefully we'll be able to utilize these videos in order for somebody who's dealing with something that you're dealing with right now, and they can utilize that in order to be able to help them when they need the help like you needed at that time too.
Yes.
All right, folks. So that is for today's show. Looking forward to part 3. I want to say thank you for joining us. ZubiaLive, we are your health and wellness live streaming community. We specialize in live streaming so as to be able to bring topics to you that affect you. So follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook at ZubiaLive. Also look for us on our website, ZubiaLive.com. But for now, I want to say thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. See you soon, Susan.
Thanks, Shane.
Take care.